And so I have a special treat for you tonight to share about Kairos Inside, Kairos Outside, and how it's better together. And this is our one and only Vanessa Velez-Cruz.
Well, good evening. And for my Spanish-speaking brothers and sisters, I'm going to say buenas noches. Well, what a treat with my sister here tonight. And it is a blessing to be here with you, all of you tonight. I know that all of you are having a wonderful time, and I know you ate good, and we are better together, right? I know we have a lot of things in common, but one thing that we have in common is that all of us, we have a heart to serve. There's no doubt about that. Do you agree with me? I cannot hear you. Oh, got you. Well, like Evelyn introduced myself, my name is Vanessa Velez-Cruz, and I am blessed to be a volunteer like you in this amazing ministry, God's ministry. People say I have an accent, so just bear with me. You see, every day we have to make choices in our lives. So either choices how we're going to dress up, going to work, finances, decision, children, housing, a lot of things. Especially our goals, our beliefs, our values, and our attitudes. Some of these decisions have minor impact in our lives. Some of them, they greatly impact on our circumstances and overall sense of well-being. Our choices not only affect us, but also will have an effect on family, friends, and community. Sometimes those effects could be joyful, but sometimes, guess what? They could be very, very painful. I had a great life, had my profession, I had everything. But many years ago, and I'm not going to tell you my age, okay? I made serious choices that led me to one of the darkest places in my life. I was disobedient to God and stepped away from the right path. I made bad choices, but guess what? I said choices have consequences. And you know where I ended up living for 9 years, 9 wonderful years. I did not feel worthy of anybody's love, not even my mother's love at that time. I was carrying a baggage of failures, mistakes, guilt, shame, low self-esteem, unworthiness, loneliness, and feeling unloved. There was no way about that. My mind was a mess. And I only thought that if I could end my life, that was the most important thing, no one else was going to suffer. So I had everything planned how I was going to do it. But guess what? God had another plan. And that plan was completely different for me. The same day I thought I could execute my plan, my name was called, and I received a letter letting me know that someone could not attend the next Kairos weekend. And I was invited to be a participant. It was scheduled to begin the next day. Isn't God good? He's an on-time God. I had heard about Kairos, and I wrote the chaplain every single day to put me on the list. Until one day she stopped me on the walkway, and she said, Ms. Velez-Cruz, please do not write anymore. You're already on the list, okay? But it's going to take around 2 years so you can go to a weekend. And guess what? In 6 months, God gave me that blessing. And guess what? I did Kairos number 10 at Pulaski State Prison, Table of Ruth. My Kairos experience changed my life. It was a complete transformation of who I was. How do I feel? When I went on that Thursday night and all of those ladies smiling at you, and singing, and looking at you, and I remember a lady had my name tag, and then she looked at me and she said, "I love you." And I said, "How could you love me? You don't even know me." And she said, "Well, I love you and Jesus loves you." She kept smiling, And I was just like, this lady must be crazy. But since that moment, I felt God's love. The weekend is history, you know that. You know the transformation that happens from Thursday night to Sunday. I was not asked any question. I just felt love. No judgment, nothing. Absolutely nothing in my life. Kairos showed me accountability. So at that point, I could either continue blaming others for my mistakes, or I could take advantage of everything that was offered to me, especially God's leading my way, not to make the same mistakes again. Instead of dwelling on my choices, guess what? I use them as learning opportunities. Unlike my sister Tammy, I was able to be the Kairos coordinator, and I was a chaplain aide. So I was called to serve on every weekend, and I blamed Kairos for my weight. At that moment, I just wanted to be serving. I just wanted to just be another person, just to help others. Since I was a kid, I always wanted to do that. But I witnessed the spirit of service through the Kairos volunteers. I mean, you just can see it. That was a highlight. And then I said to myself, why do I have to wait to be released to serve God? I could serve God where I was. And I remember Mother Teresa saying one time that why we have to go to other places on mission trips. Those are good, but your mission starts where God plants you, especially with your family, with your friends, with your community. So I was so excited about my weekend. I had so much joy. And every time I called my family, the only I talk about was what? Just guess, Kairos. So they saw a different change in my life. They saw how different I was. But I didn't want to keep it to myself. So then I wanted my mother to experience Kairos Outside. And that was a blessing. Because guess what? When you go to prison, your family is doing time with you. And they're rejected as well. Some people may reject them, some people may not. But my mom couldn't talk up that she had someone in prison to anybody, even to some family members, because they rejected her as well. So she was in this world suffering for me. But then when I just so excited about Kairos Outside, immediately she lived in another state, and they called her. My mom didn't drive. That's no problem. They picked her up. She had a great, great team contact, and that lady was a blessing in my mother's life. I couldn't wait until Sunday that I could call her and see how did it go. My question was, I know they were going to give her good food there during the weekend. She was going to eat good. But I didn't know the other surprises of Kairos Outside. Remember, I only know about inside. So when I called my mom on that Sunday, she said, now I know that there are other people like me, and I can talk to them without fear of rejection. The Kairos Outside family in that community became my mother's support. She couldn't drive. She couldn't serve on the team. She was 85 years old at that time. But she was gifted with her hands. So she dedicated her time to prayer and to do agape. They picked her up on reunions. She was in a swap group. Share, witness, accountability, and pray. So she was excited about that. My mom's life just changed from being lonely to feel all the love of a community without judgment. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine how many families have been reconciled because the loved one and the person outside have involved in both programs, on 2 programs, on Kairos Inside and Kairos Outside? Because I'm going to tell you something. We're better, what? Together. So we're doing it better. My mom, our relationship was always very strong. I was very spoiled, and still am by my brothers. But my mom and I were very, very close. But when she went through Kairos, and then my daily living with Kairos, our relationship was just stronger and stronger and stronger. Our conversations were about Kairos. Our conversations were about scriptures. Our conversation was about God and what God has been doing in her life and what God was doing in my life. Everything was looking good, but unfortunately, she passed away 6 months before I was released. My sister-in-law, who passed away already, like my sister, she got involved with Kairos Outside. My niece, she got involved with Kairos Outside. My brothers got involved with Kairos Outside. So today, they live out of the country. They live in Puerto Rico, and we don't have Kairos Outside in Puerto Rico. But they spread the word about Kairos Outside. They raise donations for Kairos Outside. What do you need? Here we are. So you see how our family has just grown stronger and better through Kairos, through this wonderful ministry. One of my dreams was always being part of the Kairos family. And I don't know if you ever bargained with God, but I did it, okay? So, you tell God, guess what? I'm going to do this, but could you get me this, So on those darkest nights, I was just like, well, God, I want to serve in Kairos, but if you get me out of here, I promise you I'm going to serve Kairos the rest of my life. Apparently, he heard me. He heard me because Kairos was and is a very important part of my life. And in case you haven't noticed it, still is. Finally, the day came and I was released. And it ended up that I was paroled to the city where the majority of the Kairos Inside volunteers who went to that prison live. One lady asked me, would you like to serve in Kairos Outside? And I said, yeah. And then she said, okay, let me make some phone calls, So she made some phone calls. She called me, she said, my husband and I are going to pick you up, and you're going to go to the first team meeting. And I go there, I'm telling you, I was so excited. So I got there, and the first day, they gave me a talk. Guess what talk they gave me? Choices. So here we go again. I have to share my story, but it was different because I was not afraid. I saw Jesus' love in everybody who was in that room. They welcomed me with open arms. They showed me that I was valuable, that I was loved. And I felt that God was using Kairos to touch my life again. But I'm not the only one. I am not the only one. You have no idea how many lives have been impacted with your heart of service, going inside the prison, outside the prison, and Kairos Torch. You have no idea. I have no idea. When I gave that talk that night, I remember that a lady came. She could be maybe in her 80s. She came to me, and she said, may I tell you something? And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, I understand how your mom felt because I'm going through the same situation. I have a son in prison, and I cannot talk to anybody that I have a son in prison. And the lady was so excited, and she said she was happy that she was there. I call Kairos my second job. I love this ministry, but I have seen firsthand how many lives have been changed and how many families and friends have been reunited. We cannot keep Kairos to ourselves, just like we cannot keep the good news of Christ to ourselves. I could not attend as a guest because I already gone through Kairos, but the more I served, the more I felt the love of God, and I still feel it today. I have the blessing of knowing so many people in Kairos, other states, international, and I have a huge family that if I'm in the ups and downs, in the good ones and the bad ones, and I need prayer, the staff at KPMI, Kairos Inside, Kairos Outside, Kairos Torch, wherever you are, we pray for each other. And that is the most important thing. We give the female loved ones the gift of spending a weekend of fellowship. But if we give them just that weekend, we give them a free gift. So that's why when Evelyn mentioned continuing ministry, that is so important. Continuing ministry, my prayer and share groups on Tuesdays was the highlight of the week. The reunions the last Saturday of the month was like a party, just waiting for those ladies to come into the prison. Kairos Outside, our reunions, that's just a highlight. Our swap groups, that's just a blessing. Support, accountability, and prayers. We must reach out to our friends and our families and our communities. Like I told you, my family was involved and is involved supporting Kairos. Whenever I say Kairos, I say, what do you need? Unfortunately, like I said, they cannot serve here, but they're present. But I'm going to tell you a short story that's something that is just so important in my life. And some of my volunteers know this story, the ones who I serve with. I used to teach, and I had a student and his sister were my students. When I went to prison, you know, a lot of people reject me. When those kids went to college, they went to visit me in prison with their mom. We're like a family. His name is Father Pablo. He was ordained as a Catholic priest in 2009. Today, he serves in Georgia. He has his badge for the Department of Corrections. He never knew what Kairos was. He has become one of the greatest supporters of Kairos. We have a new community, Kairos Outside Coastal Georgia. He opened his church. Anything that we need so that community can grow. And he goes inside the prisons. Now, you see the connection there? You see the connection? We're better together. But you see, we cannot only stay just talking to a few people. We have to spread the word. We have to connect our family. We have to connect our friends. We have to connect our communities. Because guess what? We are better what? Together. So you see the connection with my mom, the connection with my family, the connection with my brothers, the connection with my cousins. And I have a lot of friends that they help Kairos. Why? Because there's a word that we have heard many times, and it's transformation. I am not perfect. No way, Jose. There's no way I'm going to be perfect. But guess what? God changed my life through Kairos. And I am so blessed to be part of this ministry. So I'm going to tell you one thing. Not having your family close sometimes is hard. But one thing I know is that I have my Kairos family, because I can count on them for everything. And just to let you know something, if any day, any time you get tired of driving to a team meeting, of going to a training, of just baking those cookies, or just buying the soda, getting the water, carrying boxes, loading the truck, unloading the truck, setting up, taking down, clean up, just think about how many people you have impacted with your heart of service, with your heart to serve. I cannot tell you how many, but I can tell you that I am one of them. God bless you, and I cannot thank you enough for being part of Kairos and me being your co-worker in Christ, serving in Kairos.